Yeah, like the baseball team is the one bright spot on Knoxville right now.
All right. Anything else you can think of? I think that's it. Oh yeah, sorry. You remind me at the end. I'll get you to do your shout out then.
Oh, all right. Good God.
Don't let me forget. All right, 3, 2. What's up, guys? Welcome into episode number 13. 13, we think. Kind of lost track between last episodes.
Like the baseball team is the one bright spot on Knoxville right now.
Yeah, we've got lost in the confusion here. All the different things going on here. Let me mute this real quick. All right, there, that's muted. So, since the last time we talked, basketball's not a banner performance in the NCAA tournament. March Madness took on a new meaning for many Tennessee fans. It was just maddening. So, was it 70-55, 70-56 loss to Oregon State in the first round? Mm-hmm. No bueno, no good. Does make you feel a little bit better that Oregon State's still in it right now. They also slaughtered Oklahoma State. Score was a little bit tighter than the game looked, but at least they're still in it. It wasn't a first round upset where you just come out dead, give some Southwest Technical State University their first win in March Madness, and then they're out the next round to Duke by a score of 102-57. So it's better than that, I suppose. But a first round exit for a team that peaked at, what did we get up to, number 6 one point this year? 2 5-star freshmen. Lots of experience coming back, exciting transfers, and you're out in the first round after a really, poor last month and a half to the season. Yeah. So, if you've been on Twitter, if you've been on any social media, if you listened to this show before, you kind of wondered if something like that would happen, just because the overall mood around the team had changed, kind of soured there towards the end. So you knew it was a possibility. I don't know. I don't know what to say on it. It's not as maddening, like I said, because of that reason that Oregon State's still in it, but also that you kind of thought that something like this could happen. It's all I've got to open with it. I'll get y'all's thoughts. Murph, if you want to go first, or Sawyer, either one.
You got it,
yeah,
Murph.
I can go ahead. Okay. Sorry, I appreciate that.
I love to hear Murph talk.
Yeah. You mentioned it. We talked about it. We've talked about it before. They're so frustrating and inconsistent, and they're, coming into the year, the thing that everybody was saying was, oh, this is a Final Four talented team. This, they have the potential to maybe even win it all. And some people even said this was the most talent Barnes has had at Tennessee in his entire, 6 years now, I think. And then you have that ending and that season as a whole. So a lot of criticism being thrown his way. I think some of it's valid. I think some of it's a little unreasonable, and a tiny bit of an overreaction, but it wouldn't be Tennessee without overreacting fans. So that's normal. But yeah, they had so much potential and so many things that they could have done this season that just didn't get done. And I'll be honest, I don't know the answer. I don't really think anybody knows the answer to how to fix this team, but you can expect to see some changes. You already have one on the coaching staff. I'm sure we'll touch on that in a minute. I'm sure the roster is going to change a ton. Don't know what some guys are going to do. Probably have a good idea about what other guys are thinking. So just overall, super frustrating. And I will say, I know when we did this show last week, I picked Tennessee to win, obviously against Oregon State. I think all of us did. But just when I sat down to watch that game, I had a weird feeling that it wasn't going to go well. I don't know if it was just, I don't know. I normally going in, you have that orange bias on there. You think everything's going to be amazing. You sit down and prepare for a win. I did not feel good. So it kind of dumbed it down for me a little bit.
I know personally going into that Oregon State game, I was scared that the bad Tennessee team would show up, and sure enough, it did. Seeing the way that we played against Florida the last regular season game and the first game in the SEC tournament, I thought, well, maybe we found something. Maybe we've turned a corner. And even the first, I'd say 25, 30 minutes of the Alabama game in the tournament, I thought, hey, maybe we've got something cooking. Well, then that last 10 to 15 minutes of the Alabama game, the bad Tennessee team came out again. If anybody had an answer for this year's team, then I wish they would have came forward with it, because we could have used it a long time ago. I don't know. It really is frustrating because, like you said, Murphy, 2 or 3 weeks into the season, everybody and their mama had us picked to make a Final Four, Elite Eight type run, and then you get bounced first day. It's hard to not sit there and think, well, you just wasted a ton of talent in the freshmen alone. You've got to think that both of them are gone, and can you blame them? College basketball is moving to the one and done. If you're halfway decent as a freshman in college, you're out of there. You're going to go make millions of dollars, and if they do, I wish them the best of luck. I wish they'd come back and play with Kennedy Chandler next year, but I know there's a slim chance of that happening. But I'm like you, Murphy. I'm interested to see how much turnover there is with the roster. I definitely think there will be some guys move on. I think Pons is one of those guys. He's done. I'm curious about Fulkerson, because on senior day, he was real emotional when he came out. But love him to death. But John Fulkerson's not NBA material, if we're being honest. So we'll see if he comes back. I know Walker Kessler, the 7-footer from North Carolina, is a big topic of conversation, that target in the portal. I don't know, man. It really was frustrating. And, it's one of those you almost hate to see it end, but you're glad it's over just because of how frustrating it was.
Yeah, you see now in the mock drafts, they're starting to settle in. Keon Johnson's been floating around top 5 for the last couple months now. Anyway, he's really settled in at that 7th, 8th pick is where he's a lot of the mock drafts, from no matter who's putting it out there, he's floating right around 7th, 8th. Don't think he falls out of the top 10. The one that I had said before, I could see Springer coming back more than I could Keon, but even him now, he's went from sliding into the late first round, early second round, to now a lot of mock drafts have him as a top 20 pick. So I doubt you see either one back. Like you said, it's not all bleak. It's not, this was our chance, we missed it, kind of like it was with Grant, Admiral, Bowden, Bone, when they were all here. So you've got good talent coming in. You've got 2 top 100, top 75 recruits, I think, Kennedy Chandler, Jemiah Mashack. And it can hurt you. It hasn't us yet, but like you mentioned, the transfer portal's wide open. You're seeing a lot of top recruits, good players. You mentioned Kessler there from North Carolina, but the one that shocked me was Xavier Pinson from Missouri is in the transfer portal. That was, he was, I think, their 2nd leading scorer. They're their most dangerous player all year, and he's gone now. Texas had a big man enter the portal today. So I don't know. I guess I'll pose this question, and I don't really have an answer. Like Murphy said, I don't think anybody has an answer. Just what was the main reason that this team didn't succeed? Was it coaching? Was it just in-game adjustments? Was it recruiting? I have my answer. I'll say I have 50% one answer, 50% another. I think it's partly on Rick Barnes. I don't think he's without blame in this. I don't think I'm not of the crowd of let's run him off. I'm not happy with him, but the MO on him has kind of been out for a while now, that he's just not a great in-game adjustment coach. He's just, when a problem arises like that, a couple times you're like, oh, it's a coincidence. Then once it happens again and again and again, and especially in March Madness, it's, like it or not, true or not, it kind of becomes what you're labeled as. So I think that's part of it. And I think this team, no matter how many good players they had on it, top recruits, good transfers, I just don't think this team was built correctly. I think you've got, I mean, you've seen it in other sports before. You'll get a lot of good players, but they just don't mesh. I don't even think it's from a point of view of they didn't like each other, there was dysfunction in the team. I just think you had a lot of players in a system that, for whatever reason, on the offensive end. Now, defense is a different story. Defense was, I mean, I think it was fine for most of the year. It was one of the better defenses in the country for the first half of the year. So, but offense, you can't just throw 5 good athletes, good defenders out there and tell them to guard their man, deny the ball, deny the bucket. And part of this, I think, is Rick Barnes' system. He's so focused on the mid-range jumper that has really, most teams have faded out of the game today. I think that's the biggest thing. I think you had a lot of good players that individually are very good players that just, for whatever reason in this system, they weren't built to run correctly. I think Rick Barnes has got to take a look in the mirror. I think he's got to tweak his offensive system a little bit if he wants to make improvements to this team, if he wants to survive more in this league. Now, you're saying this about a guy that's got us to how many tournaments now? Has it been 3 in his 6 years? 3 or 4?
Something like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're saying that about a guy that has done that. He's had a top team in the country at one point. He's getting to where he's bringing in good recruits now. But you got to win in March. I mean, you win every game of the season, but you don't win in March, and nobody cares. So that's my main thing. I just think this team was built with a good idea in mind, but not the pieces to execute it. So I'll let y'all go. That was my takeaway, but I think that's kind of everybody's question is, why didn't this team succeed?
Murph,
Yeah,
you want to?
I'll take it. I was going to agree with you, Taylor. I think the roster construction is what kind of stands out to me. I definitely don't think that that's the only reason why this team didn't succeed, but I kind of viewed it as, you mentioned recruiting, how it's improved each season with Barnes. You know, he starts off bringing in guys who are, I don't want to say no names, but, you know, blue blood programs are not looking at these guys to bring them in. They're going to have to come in, change their bodies, work for everything that they're going to get, and really come together as a team collectively to win games. When you have recruiting increase, I think people kind of translate as recruiting increases and gets better, okay, we're going to automatically win more games. And it doesn't always happen that way. You see that in football and other sports as well.
Butch Jones, Tennessee, baby.
Right. The football team, I mean, for the last decade has not had an issue recruiting, but good God, we couldn't win, you know, more than 5 or 6 games for a few years. And I mean, it was just frustrating as all hell. So you see the recruiting side on basketball increase. You're bringing in all these talented players, these 5-star freshmen this year, and then it doesn't translate into wins. And people are like, well, what's going on? The roster wasn't put together well. And that kind of, I think, reflects back on Barnes, honestly. It's like you said, the system. Is he recruiting guys that fit this? Like, the way I looked at it now is you look at the team just in general, not necessarily breaking down what each guy does well or whatever, but you look at it and you think, oh yeah, that's a pretty decent roster. That's set up pretty well. Well, they don't, their skill sets, when you get into that part of it, doesn't really fit what Barnes wants to do. If I'm being, you know, if I mean, and I'm not a basketball savant or anything like that, but
you don't have to be, right, to see that it just didn't work.
Yeah, the casual fan just sitting at home turning on a game in the middle of the second half and seeing this team have no clue what to do going down the court with the basketball can tell, hey, this doesn't look right. This looks kind of funny to me. So I agree. You said it. You can't just stick 5 guys out there who are amazing defenders or at least plus defenders and expect them to score. So I think he needs to kind of take a step back and look at how the game is changing around him, see how because other programs aren't having problems. I mean, I know Kentucky had an off year this year, but Calipari's adjusted to the way the game's changing. Other coaches around. I mean, look at what Nate Oates has done over at Alabama, turning them into a, I hate to say it, but a national contender this year, and that probably will continue. So Barnes needs to take a step back, look at how college basketball is changing around him and around his program, and reevaluate really everything. I'm not going to say tear the whole thing down, burn it to the ground, and start over fresh, but maybe start implementing some of those new modern things that people are putting into the game offensively, and try to recruit players that fit your system. I just kind of feel like maybe they targeted just high-rated players just for the heck of it, like, oh, we got a couple more 5-star guys. They may or may fit, but I don't know. Just get guys who fit what you want to do, or if they don't fit what you want to do, do like what the football team's going to do. Adapt to what your players do well and put them in a position to succeed. I feel like they didn't do that this season.
Before you go, Sawyer, look at what Nick Saban did. I mean, it's adapt or die. And I mean, now Saban has a rough year. They're not going to be calling for his head. I mean, that's Nick Saban. But look at what he's done. I mean, when he first started, 2009, 10, and 11, I mean, those teams were, you're not going to get a first down on us. We're going to come out with Mark Ingram, Trent Richardson. There's a name you haven't heard in a while, Trent Richardson. We're going to come out and just run it down your throat and just beat you. Now look at Nick Saban. He's got the most prolific offense in the country and still a decent defense. I mean, but it's adapt or die, and so far Rick Barnes is drowning right now. I think you had a good point too. I think he built this team with a focus on defense, and let's coach him offense. We can do that. You can't do that. I mean, it's like the same thing with football. I'd rather score a lot and hope we can stop them than be able to stop them and hope we can put the ball in the basket. One, because it's funner to watch. Two, because like you said, it's just so frustrating to watch too. So that was my 2 cents. I thought you made a good point. I wanted to get that in. Sorry, you go ahead.
Well, Murphy touched on the biggest part of what I was going to say. I referred back to the great minds think alike, Murph. But I referred back in football season about how our football team was trying to play like a 1970 style of football, try to hold people to 17 and score 20 or whatever. And I got the same vibe from the basketball team. And I was going to bring up Nate Oates too. I mean, in a day and age where the game's moving more towards spacing and shooting the 3-pointer and everything, we're still trying to run a motion offense and shoot layups and mid-range jumpers. So, I mean, we had 2 guys that could legitimately really shoot the basketball, and Muscovy and Bailey, and everyone else was just, well, I take that back. Springer could shoot. He just never did. But outside of those 3, you were really iffy at best from the 3-point line. So I agree. I mean, Barnes has really got to get with the times. Defense will travel, okay? I don't care who you're playing, what you're doing. Defense will travel. I'd rather have a guy who can go get me 30 and stop the other guy, hold them to 25, than, I got to go, guys.
All right, well, I'll see you. Yeah. I mean, he had a good point before he had to cut out, but I mean, it's just me and Murph will carry on the torch here. I mean, I don't know. It's a good week for just us two because we got a lot to discuss anyway. But I don't know. I mean, if you look back, he's mid-range jump shooting is Rick Barnes, mid-range offense. Who were the best 2 players that did that this year? To me, I think it was Keon and Jaden Springer, the 2 that right there in the middle of the court. I mean, you had Pons, but that's more of a post up. Fulkerson's more of a post up. Victor Bailey, I don't. He shoots a lot of threes and not a lot go in. So that's just the main point. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, this team just. We'll wrap up with basketball. I just don't think they were built correctly at all. Hopefully he transforms the system. Will he though? Because if he does, it's hard to do in 1 year, but you've got a lot of talent next year and you've got a lot of talent coming in. So, and you never know what's there in the portal. So get a big guy, and that's a lot of problem solved there. Frustrating. That's the word. I think you said it. That's the best word to encapsulate this team.
Yeah, and I mean, the transfer portal could really do a complete facelift for this program, depending on how active they are going to be. I guess it kind of depends on how many people you lead or you lose. I wanted to, before we move on to from basketball, I wanted to pose a question.
Yeah.
I think Sar mentioned Fulkerson not being NBA ready or maybe ever. In my opinion, and again, not a great basketball mind, I don't necessarily. I see the reasons why NBA scouts really like Keon and like Springer, but from what I saw, they don't seem like you can't honestly tell me, and maybe you could make a case, maybe somebody else could. You can't tell me that those two guys can go, and anybody on this team for that matter, can go into the NBA and play up against a five-man lineup of grown men. I don't see it happening.
I mean, it's what I said before the year, and it's because I've seen Keon play before in a league that's moving to outside shooting, and it's all about score. He can score in close when he drives in. Now, it's nobody on this team ever wanted to drive in besides Jaden Springer. It seems like Keon came along as the year progressed because he had to eventually, or we would have shot 73s a game. But you knew that coming in. If I knew that about Keon, Rick Barnes had to know that. I said it before the year. If Keon Johnson's having to shoot a lot of threes this year, he's going to struggle. I think he can be taught that, and I think he got better as the year went along with it. So, but yeah, you're exactly right. I don't think even Springer just doesn't have the build for that right now. He's just a smaller guy. I don't know what position he really translates to at the next level. I think isn't he 6'3", 6'2", 6'3"?
I'm not sure.
I know Keon's 6'5", and I know Springer's a couple inches shorter than that. So I don't know where he projects really. He didn't play a lot of point guard for us really. Whatever a point guard is in Barnes' system. Well, since Jordan Bone left at least, because Jordan Bone was an absolute dog at point guard. But yeah, I mean it seems like you kind of knew what you had before the year, but at times during the season we didn't have a clue what we had and what we could do. So it's the result we saw was a team that their defense would hold on as long as they can, and just hope the offense could gear up, and they showed that they didn't have the capability to. I don't know. It's Sawyer said he had to leave because there's a tornado headed right for him in
snap,
West Tennessee. Okay, I mean it's been storming here all day, but I don't think it's got that rough here. I know it was in like northern Alabama too, which is close to me, but I'm still okay. But hope he's okay, and that's why he had to head out there. Anyway, I'll go ahead and plug it before I forget. Actually, since he had to leave, Sawyer's got a podcast, Sawyer Talk Sports. That's what it's called, right? I just want to make sure I get it right. Okay, yeah. So I believe he's done 2 episodes now, I think. And I think for this third one, he texted me earlier today. He is good buddies with Latrell Bumpus on Tennessee's football team. He's actually going to have him as a guest on this third show. So I was going to give him time to plug it at the end there, but hope he's okay. Hope he's safe right now. So I'll go ahead and plug it for him. Go check out Sawyer Talk Sports. Football. Is that all you had on basketball? Because
Yeah, mine as well. I mean, we could. I feel like we could find things to talk about it, but yeah, just like he said, sad it's over, but sort of kind of happy that it's over.
I was kind of relieved. Yeah, I didn't get to watch the first half of the Oregon State game. I was at work, but I got off right as the second half was starting, maybe like 15 minutes left. But when I opened Twitter at the maybe like the 8-minute mark of the first quarter and saw how it was going and all these tweets about worst performance of the year, I was kind of like, maybe they will lose. Maybe I won't have to open my phone up to this anymore and get instantly sad. So yeah. I mean, moving to baseball, maybe the best thing for Tennessee sports right now, because over in football we don't have started spring practice today. Spring practice, number one of the Josh Heupel era is underway. You're not going to see a lot of practice notes, stuff like that, especially I think they were indoors today probably, if it's been storming as bad there as it is here. So I'm sure with COVID there's even more or even less reporters allowed, since that's technically an indoor facility. I don't know, but news did break right after spring practice. Had pro day in the morning too. Had pro day this morning for Bryce Thompson, Trey Smith, Josh Palmer. Who am I missing?
Brandon
Kennedy. Yeah, Brandon Kennedy. Saw our boy Vrabel there, my boy Mike Vrabel there, working out a few of the players. So it's good to see you got NFL head coaches in the building, not just sending out scouts like a couple years ago when it seemed like there was no one at our pro day. But that's a result too of the combine being all virtual this year, being canceled. So I know you've got a lot more coaches traveling around. Apparently everybody did well. It looked like Palmer had a good performance. I think he had a 34-inch vertical, which wasn't surprising. I mean, if you saw him play, go up for a ball, fight a defender, that wasn't surprising. I think he ran the 40 in 4.51, which for a guy that's wasn't really known for his just straight line speed, a 4.51. I mean, that's pretty solid. But yeah, you had pro day this morning, spring practice. They wrapped up 3-4 hours ago. The main news of the day, which you didn't want to hear after spring practice, was negative news. We already knew Aaron Willis, Isaac Washington were arrested about a month ago now. An drug incident. Don't know what happened. I don't think anybody knows the full extent to what went down. There was somebody that wasn't named. It was an unnamed juvenile. It was Caden Salter, a guy that is your top offensive recruit. Aaron Willis, your top defensive recruit. So it came out that Salter was the other one involved. Don't think he got arrested. Don't know what that situation is, since he's a juvenile, what the arrest record would look like there. Anyway, so they're suspended indefinitely was the news that came out. That's why Salter's not out there practicing right now. Willis isn't. Washington isn't. So kind of depends where you sit. I think the quarterback race was always kind of going to be Harrison Bailey and Hendon Hooker anyway. I know Salter's had other things going on with his dad, and now this comes out too. So it's kind of what we were talking about before the show. Who knows when he's going to be back out there practicing? I think they're all still on the team. They're suspended from team activities right now, practices. I don't think it's serious enough to where they will not be a part of the team moving forward, especially in Willis's case, because if our linebacker situation goes the way it's looking right now, he's going to get a lot of playing time, it looks like. I don't know. What were your thoughts when that news first came out, and any Josh Heupel quotes that you saw that you liked, you didn't like, anything from the day, just in general?
I think when it initially broke that this incident took place, and you saw the names, initially it was Martavis French, Willis, and Washington. You saw two young linebackers, and I think before we find out about Caden Salter, I think this really hurt French most because he's a guy who'd been here last year, kind of already knew, what to expect with college football and everything like that, was probably looking forward to having spring ball to get ready and, potentially looking for some early playing time, because there's going to be a ton of that at inside linebacker if those two linebackers in the portal don't come back. So you hate that you hate that for him. And then just as collectively, you never want to see these young men get involved in stuff like that. And, you don't know what led to that or anything. And I really hate it for Salter specifically, because he, you mentioned it with his dad, he's got all that going on and don't really know where he's at kind of, maybe mentally or anything. Hopefully that doesn't affect his ability on the field. But yeah, I mean, it's just young guys now lose an opportunity to come into spring ball and have an opportunity to play early. I mean, you mentioned it before the show, the Willis and Salter early enrollees for really no reason now. I mean, you got a kickstart on your academics, but other than that, I mean, depending on when you come back, not to say it's a waste of time, but I don't know. I mean,
it's the famous Cardale Jones quote. We didn't come here to play school.
Yeah.
So I had to throw that in when you mentioned the leg up on athletics.
Yeah.
One of the best quotes I've ever seen.
Definitely 100%. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you that the quarterback battle was always going to kind of be a Hooker Bailey thing. Not to say that I don't think we're discounting Salter's ability to take that job, but now he is going to lose time of building chemistry with the receivers, with the running backs, the tight ends, offensive line, learning the system. I mean, everybody's got to learn this new offense, but you kind of handcuffed yourself, each one of them did now to, in a sense of gaining play time. So, but yeah, I mean, you look at the recruiting class that Tennessee had before, or I guess coming into the year before everybody before it fell apart, then you have Brooks leave, Cody Brown leaves. I think, what's his name? Jamarion Gooch got out of his NLI. You're sitting there thinking, well, can anything, I mean, this has to be the worst that could happen with all these guys coming in. Well, now you have Salter and Willis suspended alongside two other players. So definitely not what you want to see. But like you said, hopefully they're able to get back out on the field. Don't know a timeline on that. I know Heupel said that, but good that they're still with the team. It's not like they've been kicked off the team or in the portal or anything like that. As far as Heupel goes, I only saw a couple of quotes. What I saw was that he said the energy was up. Guys were eager to get together and practice. So that's always good to see. It seems like they've not really skipped a beat with the coaching change and everything like that. They've kind of, I think it's been viewed as more of a positive thing. So yeah, I mean, and I'd be remiss if we didn't mention the clip of Heupel dancing in the video that the football account tweeted out.
Could you imagine that a year ago, this time last year?
Oh my God. No, definitely not. No.
Somebody had the tweet of Jeremy Pruitt's picture when he was on, was it Bob Kessling's show? And he's sitting there in the brown suit, just not really a mean mug, but just straight faced as could be. And somebody said that'd be his reaction if they sang a happy birthday to him. So yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, it seems like he and the other coaches are bringing high energy to this program. I think it's what they need. I saw an interesting quote, and I should have bookmarked it or something, send it in a group or something, but it was a quote from somebody, and they said that, to paraphrase the quote, they said that the previous staff kind of ran the program viewing the players as like workhorses, I think is how they worded it.
I saw it too. I don't remember who said it. Okay.
And then they went on to say that this new group is kind of allowing the players to kind of breathe a little bit, enjoy, have fun, and not really be all uptight and clenched all day long. So good to see that as well.
Especially at this point in the program. I think the worst thing a new coach can come in and do, and I don't know if Jeremy Pruitt necessarily started like that, but I think he, based off those quotes, I mean, that's not the first one we've heard like that. I think he definitely at the end kind of became more of that type of coach. But if Heupel came in and started doing that, I mean, that's a rough place to start off on. It seems like all the players are bought in. I mean, the ones that are on the team. Now we mentioned it earlier. The two linebackers, it's Henry To'oTo'o and Quavaris Crouch, obviously. I don't know. I mean, all the news this last week, the last few days, were Henry T's back on campus. Then that excitement turned into, well, is he back, or is he just back to grab his suitcase, say adios boys, and then he's down in Tuscaloosa within the next 3 hours? So I don't know. I mean, I'll get your take on it. I don't think either one of them play. I think they're probably both gone. I think if they would, I think they would have been out there today. Just my opinion. I mean, I don't know, but you're also that's a couple guys that Henry T's going into his junior year. Is Krause the same? They're the same year, aren't they?
I believe so. Yes.
So, I mean, they've been through spring practice. They didn't get one last year, but they did have one before that. So, I mean, it's not. I don't guess it's the end of the world if maybe they're waiting until after spring practice and then maybe they're back then, maybe they're not. You definitely rather have them out there for spring. I don't understand the rationale behind not being there, but maybe they already know what they need to know from that aspect, and they're kind of waiting to see how the program's going to take shape in the spring. It always cracks me up. I mean, I get excited for spring ball starting up just like anybody else does, but it does always crack me up when I see everybody like, hey, Tennessee's football's back, all this. I'm like, well, let me educate you on how today's going to go. And today went about like, I mean, you're going to get, the guys are flying around out there. It's good to hear the balls hitting the gloves. Spring is here. I mean, that's all you're going to get. I don't understand the excitement. I love the spring game just because that's the first time you actually get to see the guys out there, see what they can do. So I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. It's like we said before, we're waiting to see. We're waiting to see on everything. But
yeah,
I mean, back to Salter. Yeah, I mean, it's like you said. I don't think he would have taken the job this year, but now you don't know. I mean, he kind of answered that for you, because I'd say now if he comes in after, let's say he missed half the spring. What do they have 15 practices in the spring? So he misses 7 or 8 of them. Him and Willis both do, but mainly Salter for this hypothetical. He misses 7 or 8, comes in and he's lights it up. He's clearly the best one. Personally, if he does win the job after all this has happened, that means either one of two things. He's the second coming of Jesus that's out there, and he's going to turn us into a national championship program in 1 year, or 2, it's 2020 all over again. And yeah, he's the best guy that's out there, but is he really that good? Because if he's going to be, my main thing watching with that is how much time are they out? How long are they suspended? Is this a whole spring practice thing, or is this a 1 week thing where it's, and honestly, I mean, I hope it wouldn't come down to that with Heupel, but maybe it's, he sees the quarterbacks in the first week. He's like, yeah, let's get that Salter kid in here. He's what we need right now. I hope it's not like that, but you don't know. You just don't ever know now. So I don't know. Anything else on spring ball? I guess that's all my thoughts on that.
I was going to circle back to the Crouch Henry T thing, because it was just kind of odd to me. You touched on it a little bit, the fact that they're not participating in spring practice, because initially Crouch was still on campus and Henry was out in California for whatever reason.
If they're here, what are they doing?
Right. And then they kind of swap places, it seems like now, with all this news that To'oTo'o's back in Knoxville. And then you follow Crouch on any of his social media, especially Instagram, you'll see his little stories and things, and it doesn't look like he's on campus. Not that I'm, snooping on him or anything, but just scrolling through him, you can see he's not in the locker room working out or anything. So it's weird that they've kind of now, apparently, according to all the news, we haven't seen any sighting of Henry in Knoxville, but they've kind of swapped places. And it's always been my opinion that even if you're like set on, or you feel like you're going to transfer, why would you not be on campus taking advantage of all the facilities and all the coaching and workouts and food and everything else that's available to you as a D1 athlete at Tennessee or in an SEC football environment, rather than being out in California working out in some garage or on some field with 3 or 4 other dudes who may or not be the same type of athlete that you are. It just didn't make sense to me that they weren't taking advantage of that, getting their work in. And then I guess you could view it, if they do end up, if Henry does go down to Alabama and he doesn't participate in spring practice, I guess you could view it as a positive for Tennessee, because he's behind the 8 ball going down to Tuscaloosa with all the other linebackers who have been working out and going through things, practice and stuff like that. So I'm with you. I don't think either one of them as of today are going to play for Tennessee again. That could change. I think a lot of people are getting a little overexcited about the news that he's back in Knoxville. I want to see him with a Tennessee helmet on, with one of those sports bras on, out there lifting weights before I'm ready to say anything about him being back. But yeah, and then back to Salter, you had a good point about him. If he comes in, depending on how long he's out, and he lights it up and he wins the job, I'm cool with that, because like you said, either he's the second coming of Jesus and he's clearly the best quarterback out there, or you could, view it as we have a bigger issue than we thought. So yeah. I just wanted to say that was a good point, and I agreed with that.
Because honestly, I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't care who wins the job. It's the thing with Jarrett Garantano that we go back to. I think a lot of people thought that Tennessee fans just hated Jarrett Garantano, and that wasn't the case. I want whoever plays on our team to have an undefeated college record, all be first-round NFL draft picks, sign for $100 million, and then go retire on a beach somewhere. That's if you put on this color right here. That's just what I want for you. That's how fandom works. It's not that we hated Jarrett Garantano. It's just you get tired of him throwing it to the wrong team and actively scoring for them. I would have killed for Jarrett Garantano to win a national championship here. I remember when his commitment video dropped in, 2016 when he committed, I think. I know he was part of the 2016 class. So I remember when I used to read Bleacher Report, shout out Brad Shepard every day. I used to read them every day in high school, and I was locked into recruiting. I remember when he was about to announce, I remember watching his announcement at school, and I was like, oh my God, we're winning a natty. Like, we're back. And then it's funny how it turns to this last year where I wish he played on literally any team besides ours. Like, I don't know. I don't understand the people that are, I want this guy because he does this. I want this guy. I want the guy that wins. I couldn't care less who he is, how he does it. I don't care if it's we go to the triple option and he throws the football approximately 1 time per game, but we still kill teams. I don't care. At this point, normally I hate the option. I hate watching it. It's just mind-numbing to watch. But at the point we're at now, if you told me we could win a natty by running the option, I don't care. So everybody's got their, I want this guy. I think it'll probably be Hendon Hooker. Just 55-45 Hendon Hooker. But Harrison Bailey's right there. And Harrison Bailey would make the most sense from Tennessee's perspective, but Hendon Hooker has more experience overall. So I don't know. It's just going to come down to who does what Josh Heupel wants, and couldn't care. I don't care if it's Brian Maurer. That's it. Everybody's forgetting about Brian Maurer now. I don't think he's got a legitimate shot to win it. I mean, you see all these people like, Heupel did recruit him at UCF. Like, apparently when he almost transferred, he went there. Like, all the rumors you hear. Now, I don't care if it's Brian Maurer, the swag god Brian Maurer out there running around with reckless abandon. I don't care. So I don't know. It kills me. That's my one rant. It kills me when all the people on Twitter are. They'd rather go 8-4 with this guy than win a natty with this guy. It's just out of their own personal vendetta against, which I don't know how you can have a vendetta against a college athlete that plays on your favorite team, but you'd be surprised on fall Twitter sometimes. So I don't know.
I'm with you. Win football games. I mean, we talked about it before. That's the one thing that will help with everything else. That's the one thing. We talked about the basketball team. We don't know what the problem is. Problem with football is they're not winning football games.
It's easy to spot. Yeah.
Yeah. If Brian Maurer's going to help you win games, put him out there. If it's Paxton Brooks becoming a quarterback, I don't care. Put whoever out there is going to win a football game, and I'll be fine. I watched the triple option. I watched a few Georgia Tech games in the past. I'll do it again. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Shy Tuttle, if you saw the picture from a couple years ago, Shy Tuttle was our quarterback from that practice picture, number 2, Shy Tuttle. I don't, if it's the junkyard dog, Elijah Simmons, I don't care. I let it just direct snap it to him and let him run over someone, put someone in the hospital. I don't know. Yeah, that was a good point. If it gets to like basketball and you're, top 10 team to open the season, you're still, I don't know how you compare it because there's no tournament for football, but I'd say making the tournament in basketball, you're 8-4, 9-3 consistently. I'd kill to be back at that right now, man. I'd kill for I'd kill for there to be, hey, we're winning, but what's the reason we're not at the next level? Kill for that right now. Our problem is win a game.
I feel like mentally, a lot of people, a lot of Tennessee fans were at where you just said at the beginning of 2020 coming into that season, because there was a lot of media people and people of that nature putting us in the same category as Georgia and Florida in the East, saying, oh, watch out, Tennessee's third best team in the East. They're creeping up on Florida and Georgia. They went on that winning streak, and they're just a couple of changes or new players or turnaround seasons from being an SEC East contender and being in the championship game. Not a chance.
Just imagine that, man. That wasn't even a year ago now. And look,
it's great because I have to kind of tattle on myself a little bit because I sort of bought into that a little bit. Not so much to where I thought we were gonna be.
We all did. Level. Yeah, we all did to a certain extent.
You couldn't help it because that's really all you heard. I'm a big guy, or big into preview videos before the season, and I'm watching all these guys talk about Tennessee, and they're all saying the same thing. So how could you not buy into it? That's to some degree, but I just think a lot of people mentally were there, like, oh, we're right here, this upper echelon of the East. We just got to get one more push and we're right there with the big dogs. No, we're further down than you actually think. So it's funny how that works.
Yeah, not even a year ago, man. We're in that conversation now. New head coach. I think on the official roster there was 65 to 70 players on it, so depth's going to be a concern. Depth. Yeah. Whole new staff, new athletic director. Just 180. We've got an offensive guy now compared to a defensive guy that we apparently had that we couldn't stop a slant for.
Yeah, couldn't tell it was a defensive-minded coach. But, looked like a special teams coach out there.
I don't know, man. It blows my mind when I sit back and actually think about it like that. We did just have a tweet from our boy Brian Maurer saying he's so excited. Yeah, I'm so excited for this team 7 minutes ago. So maybe he knows something we don't. Maybe Maurer is maybe Maurer's plugged in. 12-0 right now. I'm calling it on episode 13, 12-0 for next year, based off Brian Maurer's tweet there.
I don't know. Way too early predictions.
Yeah. I'll just go ahead. If I'm 12-0 right now, I mean, God knows what I'll be at by the time the season starts.
Yeah.
We'll dive into baseball a little bit.
Cool.
Well, we're the only two here right now. Me and Murph and Landon Raby got the bat flip. Just released episode 2 earlier. that episode we did record that before today's news that Jackson Leaf out for the rest of the season. Torn hamstring, I think, was the official injury designation there. Not good news for a guy that, if you watch our last show, sneak preview, he was my X factor for the rest of the year for the pitching staff, especially. So that's the D. Taylor guarantee right there. He's our X factor, and the next day he's out for the year with a torn hamstring. So I don't know. Not good. I mean, we'll get into it more on, I think, Tuesday's our next episode. Got LSU this weekend. Coming off a series win over Georgia, defeat over Eastern Kentucky. Trey Lipscomb had a big game. I don't know. I mean, I'll save the most of that for our show just to keep the viewers over there. I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's something I'm missing, but that's what I got you for.
Yeah, I can't think of anything big that we're missing. I mean, you had Kim English go to George Mason to be their new head coach. Good opportunity for him. Sad to see him go. You saw both Kennedy Chandler and Jemai Mashack reach out to him on Twitter, wishing him the best. I'm sure he played a huge part in recruiting those two guys, and among others. Sad to see him leave. I know you mentioned on Twitter, maybe promote from within, put him ahead of Barnes. Not that, I know that was sort of a joke, maybe not, but
right.
Definitely wouldn't be against when Barnes is ready to move on. If he wants to come on back and take that role, I'd be definitely down for that. But
and the tweets are already out there that are saying that's the plan. That's going to happen. That's the.
Really?
Oh yeah, I've seen a couple now that something along the lines of wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if he comes home within the next couple of years, which is his home's really Missouri. I think that's where he played his. Yeah, so I don't know if I'd call it home, but coming back, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it was a joke tweet, but in that moment, I was kind of like, oh, but maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, with Rick Barnes, I'm to the point where I'm like, not happy with him, but who else do you get? I mean, I don't know of another big name out there that, I mean, Nate Oates is the hot name, but I know they've tied him to Indiana since that job opened up. I don't know how he leaves Alabama after what he's got there right now, but that's the rumor going around. Nate Oates, I'll tell you right now, I'm sure you're listening. I'm sure Nate Oates is a big supporter. If you're listening, I'll drive you to Indiana, my friend. Whatever your travel fees are, just hit me up. And
check-in moving company.
Yeah, I won't have to deal with you in the SEC at our biggest rival now. You could have went anywhere in the SEC, man. You would have went to Texas A&M. I couldn't care less then, but had to be Alabama because they don't ever get anything nice down there in Tuscaloosa. I feel bad for their poor fans. They don't ever get to celebrate anything. So I don't know. That's all I've got. You got anything else?
I just did like a quick skim of the spring roster, noticed some things, nothing too crazy, but just saw no D'Angelo Gibbs was on the roster. I hadn't heard anything about him, where he had ended up at, if he was with the team or not. So I guess that kind of answers that question.
He's not in the portal, is he?
I went back and like Google searched him to see if he was in the portal or something, and I couldn't find anything unless I'm blind and just missed it.
I don't think he is, which is why I was surprised, because I thought it was kind of supposed to, which last year it was, D'Angelo Gibbs is going to be a big factor next year on the team. And was it athletics academics? Was it academics the reason he didn't? I thought I saw something like that he was opting out to focus on his coursework.
I think it was academic, and they said that about a couple different guys, and I'm thinking now that might have just been like a blanket statement to kind of cover up whatever
Yeah.
real reason
Keaton,
they had.
Ramel Keaton was another one late in the year, which he's back today. I saw that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I was going to mention that as well. Glad to see him back. He was one of the guys before last season I thought could really take a jump forward and be a key contributor. But yeah, seeing Gibbs not on the roster really confused me. I hadn't seen anything about him.
Yeah, Schamberger's the other one, but I think he was in the portal already. But yeah, Gibbs, I'm looking on 247 right now. I don't see anything. He went in. Okay, I was right. He went in January, but he was the one that withdrew from it 1 day later. So,
oh, okay.
I remember him doing that now, and I remember thinking then, well, why just sleep on it, son? I don't know why you enter your name in and 1 day later you're out. Like, just go for a walk, cool down for a second. I don't know, but yeah, I don't see anything right now where he's in the portal. So I don't know. You wonder. And reading that now, I do see where Knoxville News Sentinel last year, right before practice, elects to sit out, and it was focused on his academics. Okay, that was the reasoning. So is he not going to be eligible? Is he already not eligible? Is he a guy that within a couple months you see him at East Mississippi Community College playing for Buddy Stevenson? Who knows? Last chance you start him. I don't know.
Wouldn't be surprised.
What's up with our boy Eric Gilbert?
I think that made me think that's kind of the knock on him, at least from what I've seen from people who I trust. That was, if I don't know I think it's called The Late Kick with Josh Pate over on 247 Sports.
Yeah,
I love that man's takes. He is phenomenal.
Yeah,
he talked about it, and I think he mentioned he had seen some things about academics with Gilbert being an issue, but I don't know. I mean, if that's just kind of a hearsay thing and he can go wherever he wants, I mean, come on down. We'll take you. I mean, it wouldn't shock me to see him end up at I'm thinking, because he's been at LSU. He was going to go to Florida, so he's pretty much got the pick of the litter in the SEC. Yeah. Wouldn't shock me if he were to go somewhere totally out of left field, like Michigan State or some dumb school like that. Just, kind of like almost like with oh gosh, the guy's name slipped. Raheem Jarrett, where he was like with LSU for committed there, and then Maryland. I know he's from that area, and it kind of makes sense. But I mean, really, but yeah, I don't know. I do search his name on Twitter every once in a while just to make sure I didn't miss anything with him, like picking somewhere or anything like that.
I was wanting to see if you had seen it, because last I heard his tweet said that he was transferring, and nobody would know until he was there going through. I thought it said spring practice. Now maybe it was summer, but I haven't seen anything with that, so no updates on him apparently. Basketball, the transfer portal. I mean, we talked about the portal already, but you got, I think I mentioned it last show, Brandon Huntley Hatfield, I think his name is the 5-star power forward. I haven't heard any update on him yet. Basketball's kind of been, season just ended, so it's been kind of quiet on that front. You'll see more of that as the summer goes along. But who knows? A lot of question marks around Tennessee athletics right now. In football, basketball, a small amount with baseball. Now, that's really just one pitcher who fills the role there. But everywhere else, just littered with uncertainty. Some good, some exciting, some, I won't say bad, because once it happens as often as it does at Tennessee, it's kind of just the norm. So I don't know. Yeah, that's all I got, I guess. I don't know. Hopefully by this time next week, Caden Salter and Aaron Willis are back out there. Maybe this is just kind of a small issue. Maybe by this time we've added a couple transfers to the basketball team. We know the status of a couple guys coming back or not. Who knows? You got anything else?
I was just going to say, make sure you're watching this weekend as the baseballs take on LSU. It's going to be a heck of a series. don't want to miss that. If you haven't been watching now, you might want to start watching now. So make sure to watch that.
SEC home opener. Check
Yep.
out the boys of the Legends of Lindsey Nelson. I think y'all mentioned it. I think I heard when I was coming back from, I had to leave during our show yesterday. I think I heard when I was coming back, y'all were talking about them then, but they'll be in the LSU's pitcher's ear, in their batter's ears all weekend. So hope the boys show up and show out. That's all I can think of. Guys, thanks for checking in with us. That's been episode 13, we think. And y'all have a